Right everyone, WeaponCollector here. Right, this is going to be a tutorial showing you how to turn a marbles Bowie machete into a really nice custom made Bowie of your own design. So everything you see in this video will be easy to follow, very basic tools that most people can get, and very basic materials as well. I've picked this particular design blade because it's already shaped as a Bowie. It's cheap as well, 13 quid. So it means you can get a very cheap blade blank that's big as well and full tang. You'd struggle to get a Bowie knife blank with a blade this big. This is probably the cheapest thing you can do. This way you can put any guard on, any handle material, and I'll show you how to do it, and easily and simply and cheaply as well. So the first thing we'll have to do is take the handle off and get this orange paint off. Now, there's a couple of different methods you could do this. I'll show you how I'm going to do it. The first thing I'm going to do is take the handle off, and I'm just going to cut it and split it off basically. Right, for this build all you're really going to need is the marbles Bowie knife machete for the blank, some wood for your scales, some kind of metal for the guard. You can use steel, I'm going to use brass, you could use aluminium if you want something easy to work on, and some kind of pins or bolts for holding the handle on. You could either use bolts like this, or an even easier method, you could use nails and washers. That'll work just as good. And then tools will just be very basic tools that anyone can get hold of. Alright, let's try splitting it with a chisel quickly. Hopefully it'll come off easily. So just keep going over it till you get it off. Cut these rivets off and then you'll have the nice bare tang ready. So we've essentially got our blade blank now. You want to get this paint off. Now the thing I find easiest to get this kind of paint off is acetone or nail varnish remover. Now you can buy a bottle of nail varnish remover for £1 or less, so it's a reasonably cheap way to do this. What you need to do is get some sandpaper. Now if you've got the patience you probably could sand this off, but I recommend just giving it, it will take a while, depends what tools you've got. This is the easiest method. Sand this all over roughly with some sandpaper, not so you're taking the paint off, just so you're scratching it basically. This will help get the acetone into the paint. So once you've given it a nice rough sanding, basically just pour your acetone on so that you've got a little bit of a, you'll probably use most of the bottle in all honesty. So this is the only bit of preparation really for the whole job. This will now have to be left overnight. So this has been soaking overnight. Mine dried out overnight, which means I've had to put some more on, which means my paint had dried again. But once you've put some nail varnish remover back on, that'll soon come off really easily. So if yours has dried out, just put a bit more on and then get something like a chisel. Yours may just wipe straight off. Take a chisel to it and you can see that's coming off nicely. And when you've got the majority off, take some wire wool or a wire brush just to get the last bits off. So you should have your Bowie blade nicely cleaned off now. I'll be honest, in certain light you can still see bits of the orange in the grain. That's going to be very difficult to get out. Once you've got the paint off, don't forget to clean your blade. Clean it with a bit of water and then spray a bit of oil on it. So this is now ready to start working on. So the first thing we'll have to do is we need to take a little bit out the back of the tang here, only about 2 or 3 mil, and you want it so that where you take it out is in line with this front bit. So take a square that off. I don't know how well you'll see the line, and then we're taking a little bit out the back here so that when the guard goes on it's got somewhere to sit here and at the back, otherwise it could move like that. So you can use a hacksaw just to cut in, and then a file, angle grinder. I'm going to attempt a hacksaw first and then a file, but if it's a little bit too hard I'll move on to an angle grinder. At this point you're also going to want to tape up any sharp edges, so I recommend putting tape along the edge and then wrapping it round. Do not want this edge out because you've cut yourself. Right, you just need a couple of mil down. Right, I've got my gas mask on so you might not be hearing me very well. While you're doing this back bit, you now want to take off this little bit here and this little bump so that it's straight, but we'll leave this bit on here for now because that may help for strength, but we'll see later we may have to square that off. Should have a nice straight tang now, apart from this bit here, which I'm going to see later whether that will need taking off. I'll have to test what the handles will be like, but I think that should be okay. Have a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, because you could just have this full tang if you like. It's up to you how you want the handle. You can have the handle the tang hidden, or you could do it full tang so the edges are shown. So the next thing we want to do is take your metal that you're going to use, work out whereabouts you want it, and I want it so that the bit at the back, how well you'll see this, I want it so the bit at the back is the same as the front basically here, but here. So bring that down a little bit and mark how wide the tang is at that point. So that would be from there to there. Mark that on. And then this is going to be a little bit difficult to do with brass, but I'm going to try my best. So what I need to do now is basically drill holes along here and then chisel it out. Right, once you've drilled your holes, you want to get something like a screwdriver or a chisel and basically chisel between the drill holes, and it will knock those bits out, ready to put either a file in or something like that. This exact brass will be linked in the description. It's the perfect kind of brass for this kind of work. It drills really easily. Some brasses are harder. This is the perfect sort of machining brass, and as I said, the link will be in the description for it. If when you've done your hole it's quite rough looking, there's a way to disguise this when it's on the knife. What you can do, you can have a little piece of round, or not round, the oval shaped leather. What it does, it adds a bit of cushion in, and also covers up any ugly holes, and obviously the bottom will be covered by the handle anyway. So if yours doesn't look that good like mine, we can hide that. So just keep filing now until the tang of your blade will fit in. Mine's nearly there. And then we can start shaping the actual guard to what you want. So now it's time to shape your guard. Mine's not quite fully on because I want to be able to put mine on as tight as possible. So I'm going to hammer mine on. Alright, so I just want to mark this for the back so I know. So what I'm going to do with mine, I want to do round tips but then come in again like this. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. So that's the sort of design I'm going to have on mine. So this is what you should have now. You've roughed out guard. What I would suggest now, before going any further, finish this up as good as possible. So you're going to want to file around the edges, sand it, and as smooth as possible, ready so that after it's on, all you're really going to need to do is polish it up. So this will just be, as I say, sand the edges and then gradually keep going over with the finer papers. Sandpapers. So the guard is virtually done. You're going to need to clean that up later when you clean the knife up. Now it's time to put the handle scales on. So really this can vary depending on what you want to do. What I think I'm going to do, so what you could do is just have the slabs completely in line with the edge of the tang, so the tang is showing. Have it like a full tang knife. Or you could actually have the tang hidden by having a little bit on either side of the wood. Now I'm going to attempt that for this one. I wouldn't mind trying to do a little bit of a coffin shaped handle. So the first thing you're going to have to do is mark the tang. So get your guard right up. Don't forget to make sure that the ends of your wood are flat when you do this. Get in about the right place, so about there. Mark this on. And then you're basically going to want to chisel that out on both sides. It's up to you actually, it doesn't have to be both sides. You could do it on one. Actually it'd probably be easier to do it on one. So chisel that out so it sits flush. And then we can think about the actual shape of the handle afterwards. So yeah, the next bit to be chisel that out. The only real tip I have for chiselling is I like to go along the edge first with a Stanley knife, so that if you slip with the chisel it will only go up to your cut. That can help with, you know, if you're a bit like me, a bit of amateur carpenter. Take your time. So the handle should look like that, cut out. Now I'm going to try to attempt to do a coffin shaped handle with mine. If it messes up I can just do a slab on either side. So I'm going to cut it so it comes out slightly in a coffin shape. So you'll have your basic shape of your handle. You may want to take some off the edge of each of the scales to thin them down a little bit, which is what I'm going to do. I'll take them down to the edge of the guard. I'll thin them down a bit. That will probably mean, if you're using these kind of bolts, what you're going to have to do, it may be alright actually, but what I often have to do is cut a bit of this off so that it fits in better. Otherwise it'll hit the tang and it'll be sticking out. Quick bit of advice with these holes: if you can't drill them out, file them bigger. That's what I did with both of mine. I couldn't actually get a drill bit because this is hardened steel, so it wouldn't actually drill very easily. So I just filed them bigger so that the bolts would go in. Now there's various different ways you can do this. What I'm going to do is put one scale on, push it up as hard as I can so it's pushing the guard up, mark the holes. This bottom one's in a bit of a funny position, so mark it sort of to the side so it's still in the middle. That'll still work. And then once you've marked those holes and you're happy they're in the right place, drill those out. Put a piece of wood on the back side so that when you drill through it doesn't blow out. So once you've done that side, you can put the other side on, turn it over, make sure they're both pushed right up to where they're supposed to be, both in the right place, lined up. This should work. I'm going to see if I can mark the bolts, mark the holes with the bolt. Right, so if you're doing this the same way as me, what you're going to need to do now is decide which side you want the nuts on and take the larger drill and drill those holes out so that those will fit in. Then you need to countersink so that these will fit flush. And then you can actually screw the handle together, glue it as well. You might as well glue it while you're there. Put some glue in there and then screw it together or rivet it together or glue it and pin it, whatever you want, and we can start shaping the handle. So while you've got your scales off, you might as well give them the finish you want. I will probably do my usual dark oak. That's all I've got, in all honesty. But you can do whatever colour you want. You can wax the wood, I suppose, anything you like. But I'm going to do a dark oak on this. As I said, purely because that's all I've got. So yeah, do your handles now and then leave it for a while. These things come out better if you give them a couple of coats. So give it a coat, leave it, give it a light sanding. Repeat the process a couple of times. So I'll leave that for a bit, and when we come back we can put the knife together, start actually cleaning it and finishing it. At this point it's virtually done. All you really want to do now is polish it up after this. So yeah, just give your handles a couple of coats and then when we come back the handles will be back on and we'll start taking all the tape off and cleaning this up. Right, there you go. There's your homemade Bowie knife. Now, I think that's really good for the overall time it took to make and the materials. I think that's excellent. That should have cost you no more than 30 quid, I'd say. The only tools you really needed, power tools you really needed, was a drill and either, you don't need these, but an angle grinder or a little belt grinder. So I never used the angle grinder in the end, I used the belt grinder. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think that's absolutely lovely. So all it needs now is a sheath and a bit of a sharpen. So for a later video I will do a sheath for this and show you exactly how to make it, where to get the stuff from and all that. It'll be similar to how I do most of my things, so it'll be basic, anyone can do it. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. And the amount of time it took to make as well. Even with recording, that's only took me about 6 hours, I think, so less if I wasn't recording. If you don't count the time obviously we had to soak the blade. And partly why that takes that kind of time is there's no glue to let dry. You can glue the handle, but using these bolts you don't need to. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think that's excellent. So yeah, a future video I'll be showing you how to make a sheath for this, so we've got a fully working Bowie knife, and now I will show you some pictures. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you make one of these, and if you do, let me know. I'd like to see what you do. Yeah, don't forget to watch the pictures. See you later.